You might think helping others is amazing, but do you really understand the hidden risks behind it? The question is, are we unknowingly putting ourselves in danger? Imagine pouring your heart and energy into helping someone else, only to wonder, what happens next? You might lose your independence, become exhausted, or even end up as a pawn in someone else's game without realizing it. Is it really worth it? Of course, we all want to help at times, but have you ever asked yourself, does this action truly benefit both myself and others in the long run? Today, we'll dive into the darker side of helping others, something few people talk about. You might face surprises you never expected. Think twice before you jump in to help. In this video, I'll reveal 9 hidden problems you might encounter when constantly helping others without realizing it. And if you're looking for ways to avoid these issues, don't miss the valuable tips I'll share. Let's explore this together. 1. Creating dependency. Picture this familiar scenario. You always help others, especially those you care about, thinking you're doing the right thing. You help them overcome challenges, solving seemingly impossible problems. But over time, you realize they no longer face difficulties on their own. Everything depends on you. Oh boy, that's pretty terrible, isn't it? The core issue here is, when you constantly help others without encouraging them to stand on their own, you inadvertently create dependency. This strips away their self-reliance. You become the sole provider, while they never learn to solve their problems independently. From a selfless act, it transforms into an imbalanced relationship where you keep giving and they keep taking. In the long run, this dependency can negatively affect you, draining your energy and freedom. You might feel overwhelmed, not just by your own responsibilities, but also by theirs. This leaves you with less time for self-care and can lead to burnout. Not only that, but it can also rob you of the joy in relationships because you no longer feel appreciated. Moreover, when you constantly help without setting boundaries, you unknowingly prevent others from developing their independence. They may lose confidence and the ability to solve problems on their own, since they never get the chance to learn from failures and challenges. This makes it hard for them to grow and build a solid foundation for their own lives. Imagine this. You have a friend who always struggles with financial management. You keep helping, lending money, and solving their financial issues. But this leads to a harsh reality. They never change their bad habits and continue relying on you. You become responsible for their problems, while they never learn to take responsibility for themselves. The relationship between you and that friend is no longer equal. You feel pressured, and they feel no need to change because you're always there. According to a 2023 study by Psychology, today, dependency in relationships can create stress, leaving both parties feeling dissatisfied. The dependent person can't solve their own problems, while the giver feels exploited. This complex situation often leads to exhaustion and a loss of motivation within the relationship. So, how do we solve this issue? The key lies in setting clear boundaries. Don't let your help turn into an endless commitment. Encourage others to stand up and solve their problems. You can support them, but don't shoulder all the responsibility. Marcus Aurelius once said, "People aren't meant to help each other endlessly, but to help each other grow and solve their own problems." You'll see that when you set boundaries and encourage independence, your friend will grow and you'll feel much lighter. If you found this content helpful, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel for more videos that help you build sustainable and healthy relationships. 2. Losing personal independence. Maybe in your current life, people always turn to you when they face difficulties, and you, with an open heart, are ready to help without hesitation. But one day, you realize that during all that time, You've forgotten one important thing: yourself. But you know what? The dark side of this might not have crossed your mind. When you're constantly caring for others, you can easily lose your personal space. Not because you don't want it, but because you feel responsible for putting others first. But by doing this, you gradually forget your own needs. And while you're always helping others overcome challenges, you sink deeper into your own worries. Imagine a social worker who spends every day helping those in need. But when they look back, they realize they no longer have time for themselves. Stress, lack of sleep, and an unexplainable emptiness. Everything starts to fall apart, and they don't know how to escape. Who am I in my own life? That question might echo endlessly in their mind. The reality is, losing personal independence doesn't just exhaust you. It also has emotional consequences. According to a 2018 study by the American Psychological Association, APA, people who spend too much time caring for others may lose their sense of independence and even forget themselves. This often leads to stress and depression. Endless sacrifices for others can trap you in a cycle of fatigue and emotional depletion. So, how do we address this issue? Start by planning your time. You need to create space for self-care. Do things you love, even if you have a busy schedule. Learn to say no when helping exceeds your limits. Remember, you can only help others effectively when you're healthy and happy. Don't forget that you also deserve self-care. As Seneca said, true freedom is knowing your limits, mastering, and maintaining yourself. Remember, only when you take care of yourself can you truly help others effectively and sustainably. If you found this helpful, don't forget to hit like and share this video so your friends understand that self-care is essential to helping others in the best way. 3. Exhaustion and mental stress. Oh, have you ever felt like everything is piling up on your shoulders and no one even notices? You keep helping, always ready, but when you look back, does anyone actually take care of you or see that you're exhausted? This doesn't just impact your physical health. It gradually chips away at your focus on work and everything around you. You might feel your energy draining day by day, but you keep helping others because you think you have to. Here's a classic example to see the problem more clearly and realistically. According to a 2021 study from the Mayo Clinic, over 70% of healthcare workers face burnout simply because they don't know how to say no to requests from others. This issue is even more evident for those in helping professions like healthcare workers, teachers, or psychologists. The truth is, burnout isn't just an emotional issue. It can seriously affect your health. Insomnia, anxiety, depression, all these problems can stem from not knowing how to take care of yourself. And really, you can't effectively help others when you're running on empty, can you? So, where's the solution? First, take care of yourself. Schedule time to rest and recharge. Set aside moments to relax. Do what you love and don't feel guilty about it. Share the burden and don't hesitate to seek support from others. You don't have to do everything alone. And finally, remember the advice of Epictetus, a great Stoic philosopher. Take care of yourself first, because if you're not healthy, you can't help others effectively. Remember, you need to maintain a balance between helping others and protecting your own health. Don't let yourself become an empty vessel. If you're not well, you can't bring any goodness to those around you. Now, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like and share to help others around. You realize that self-care is essential. Let's help everyone learn to maintain balance in life, okay? 4. Not receiving gratitude or positive feedback. When you keep giving without getting the recognition you deserve, your relationships can quickly lose balance. At first, it might feel like a voluntary act of love or responsibility, but over time, These sacrifices can turn into exhaustion, feelings of unfairness, and even hurt. But here's the real issue. Why do we feel a sense of loss when we don't get recognition? The answer lies in a hard-to-accept truth. We seek validation from others instead of recognizing our own value. And an uncomfortable reality: when you don't get thanks or acknowledgement, you might feel like you have nothing left to give and even lose the motivation to do good deeds anymore. A study from Carnegie Mellon University also shows that lack of recognition can decrease your future motivation. Think about a work scenario. For example, you tirelessly help a colleague complete a project, only to receive no thanks in the end. This not only leaves you feeling resentful, but can also lead to a decline in trust in your own actions. You start questioning whether you're even worthy. In this case, doing good turns into a meaningless effort, and the frustration can build up. We don't do good things to gain recognition, but because it's the right thing to do. While acknowledgement from others is important, it doesn't determine the value of your actions. As Epictetus once said, "Do the right thing not for praise, but because it's the right thing to do." This means the value of your good deeds isn't diminished just because you don't get immediate gratitude. Do good because you know it matters, not because you want praise or recognition. So, how do you deal with this? First, do everything for the joy and value you find in the act itself. Second, reset your expectations. Don't let a lack of thank yous dampen your motivation. And finally, always remember that not every good deed needs immediate recognition. If you feel this message resonates, don't hesitate to share it with others. Maybe these insights could make life a little better for everyone. 5. Imbalance in relationships. Have you ever found yourself helping someone wholeheartedly, only to feel like all you got in return was silence? Oh, we all want to believe that our kindness will be rewarded, but reality doesn't always work that way. The danger is that when you're always the one giving without ever receiving, the relationship gradually becomes unbalanced. And that's the worst part of a mental trap that's tough to escape. When you give too much without getting anything back, it doesn't just create an imbalance in actions, it erodes your self-worth. In psychology, this is called emotional exhaustion. You start to feel like you're being taken advantage of, and worse, you begin to doubt your own value. Pretty dangerous, isn't it? In a report from Harvard University, research shows that 75% of emotionally unbalanced relationships lead to depression or reduced communication skills. Oh, you no longer want to share because you think, what's the point? That vicious cycle can destroy both the relationship and you. For instance, think about a typical scenario in romantic relationships. You're always the one showing care, handling even the smallest things, cooking, cleaning, or simply listening to your partner's every story. But what do you get in return? Indifference, or worse, they see it as your obvious duty. At first, you might tell yourself that you're doing it out of love and responsibility. But over time, that nameless fatigue starts creeping in. You feel like a shadow and sometimes wonder, do they even value me? This doesn't just affect your emotions, it chips away at your self-esteem. When you don't get the support you deserve, you start questioning yourself. Am I not worthy? That's when the relationship turns toxic. A study from the Institute of Social Psychology shows that in family and romantic relationships, 60% of unbalanced couples end up feeling lonely and dissatisfied. Even worse, feeling exploited can turn into resentment, cracking the relationship. So, what should you do? No, it's not about stopping your help. The key is to help consciously and set boundaries. Don't be afraid to share your feelings. You're not a superhero, and silence never solves the problem. Speak up. I feel exhausted, being the only one making an effort. We need to share this responsibility. Simple as that, but sometimes it's the key to saving the entire relationship. Marcus Aurelius' advice still rings true today. Only when we maintain balance can we sustain a healthy relationship. Exactly. That quote is profound and spot on. And if you find these insights helpful, don't forget to hit the like button or subscribe to the channel. Because who knows, one day, the people you know might need these tips to break free from the cycle of unconditional giving. Remember, balance doesn't just keep relationships strong, it also protects you from unnecessary hurt. 6. Creating internal resentment. The internal resentment that builds up when helping others without recognition is a dark side of giving that many don't realize until this feeling becomes heavy and destructive. At first, helping others can bring comfort, even joy. But when you keep giving without hearing a thank you or any acknowledgement, a subtle tension grows, a feeling of being unappreciated or even forgotten. Eventually, this resentment accumulates, making you feel like your efforts aren't valued and your personal worth diminishes. When your efforts aren't recognized, this feeling can become worse over time, leading to an invisible emotional wound. Helping others, when appreciated, brings comfort and joy. But if you keep giving without receiving gratitude or acknowledgement, the stress from feeling overlooked gradually builds up, creating deep-seated resentment. Human psychology needs recognition to feel meaningful and valuable. According to research by psychologists like Deci and Ryan, a lack of recognition can lead to frustration and reduced motivation. This can impact work, relationships, and even self-esteem. We need external validation to reinforce our belief in our own worth. This situation is very common in the workplace. Someone who's always willing to help colleagues but never gets a thank you or acknowledgement will feel drained and lose motivation. This isn't just about the lack of recognition, but also the feeling of not having the right to demand it. The result is a vicious cycle. You help but aren't appreciated, and eventually, your enthusiasm wanes. However, the issue isn't just about others failing to acknowledge you. The core problem lies in how you perceive your own value. If this lack of recognition makes you feel hurt and disappointed, don't hesitate to ask for fair acknowledgement. You have the right to request respect and recognition, but you also need to understand that helping others is about doing what's right and meaningful, not just about getting something in return. Stoic philosophy teaches that we can accept a lack of recognition while still protecting our own value and self-respect. You won't always get acknowledgement from others, but the key is not to let this lack of recognition diminish the worth of your actions. Helping others still holds value, whether or not others recognize it, and the greatest reward you can receive is the satisfaction and inner peace of doing the right thing. The important thing is to understand that giving may not always lead to receiving, but finding value in the act itself helps you maintain motivation and self-respect, regardless of external acknowledgement. 7. Creating abuse. When we talk about helping others, there's one thing that often gets overlooked. Abuse can arise from this very act of kindness. Once you start helping without setting boundaries, not only might you feel taken advantage of, but the person receiving help could become dependent and lose a sense of responsibility for their actions. This is dangerous because it not only hurts the giver, but also prevents the recipient from growing or improving themselves. Abuse can stem from small but repetitive actions. You continuously help someone financially or with personal issues without asking them to change or improve. When that happens, the person receiving the help no longer feels the need to take responsibility, and you end up feeling unappreciated. According to a 2022 Harvard University study, unlimited help can create an environment for abuse, especially in unhealthy relationships. If the recipient doesn't feel a responsibility to change, they lack motivation to improve their behavior. This creates a vicious cycle where the giver feels exploited and the receiver remains dependent without any change. Additionally, modern psychologists point out that a lack of acknowledgement can reduce motivation and personal satisfaction. They believe that when people don't get recognized for their actions, they feel tired and unmotivated. When help isn't treated properly, it damages the relationship between both parties, and over time, the giver no longer feels their actions are meaningful. So how can we avoid this abuse? It's crucial to set clear boundaries. Don't be afraid to say no when you feel taken advantage of. Remember, help should come from a place of willingness and doesn't always require something in return. However, if you feel unappreciated or see no change, don't hesitate to demand it. The famous Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "When you know how to say no, you not only help yourself, but also help others grow." You help because it's the right thing to do, but don't let it make you feel used. Change must come from both sides, the giver and the receiver. So, don't let abuse cast a shadow over your goodwill. Always remember that boundaries are necessary to maintain respect and effective assistance. 8. Losing personal growth. When you help others, you might feel a great sense of happiness. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself, am I neglecting my own growth? Oh boy, the price you pay isn't always immediate. It's only when everything quietly passes by that you realize your personal development has been left behind. Imagine someone who spends all their time caring for family and helping friends, but never takes any time for themselves. They don't learn new things, advance in their career, or seek personal fulfillment. This can make them feel stuck, lost in a world where everyone else seems to be moving forward while they remain still. This feeling isn't pleasant at all, right? If you don't invest in yourself, develop new skills, or set clear personal goals, you'll easily feel like you're going nowhere without direction. This can lead to feelings of disappointment, dissatisfaction, and unmet goals. So how do you avoid this? The most important thing is to take time for yourself. Never forget that you also need to nurture your own dreams and aspirations. Why? Because if you don't grow personally, you can't sustainably help others. Spend time learning, developing new skills, and setting clear goals for yourself. When you become the best version of yourself, you'll truly add value to others. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If you don't develop yourself, you can't sustainably help others." And that's absolutely true. To help others, you need to be strong and whole. Don't forget, you are important too. If you find this message helpful, don't forget to like and share this video. Someone you care about might need this reminder too. 9. Lack of confidence and feeling abandoned. Sometimes, there are harsh truths you haven't quite realized yet. When you keep giving and supporting others without any acknowledgement, a truly sad thing can happen. You start to feel insecure and alone. You question your self-worth and sometimes wonder, do I really matter? Think about it. Someone who's always the one helping in group work, always ready to support others, but never gets a thank you or any recognition. Over time, they feel undervalued and begin to question whether their contributions even matter. Can you imagine that feeling? Every day, you keep doing good things for others, but in the end, you feel abandoned. This lack of confidence not only makes you feel lonely, but also affects your quality of life, both at work and in personal relationships. According to a 2019 study from the Institute of Social Psychology, about 45% of participants reported feeling abandoned when their contributions weren't acknowledged. This can lead to frustration and a loss of motivation, making you feel like there's no reason to keep going. So how can we break this cycle? First, don't wait for recognition from others. Self-recognition is the first important step. Never let your self-esteem be destroyed by trying to please others. Your worth doesn't depend on external validation. Be confident in what you do and in your contributions. In fact, seeking support from friends and family is also very important. Share your feelings and don't hesitate to accept support from loved ones. Don't let the lack of acknowledgement from others rob you of your motivation or sense of self. As Seneca once said, "Never lose your self-respect for the sake of pleasing others." Remember, you are valuable and deserve recognition, even if it comes from yourself. And if you think this message is valuable, don't forget to like and share it. Someone in your network might need to hear this reminder too.